Welcome to Java in Programming series at IIT by Dr. Yashwan Dongre. This is session 11 and topic name is multi-threaded programming. Content we are going to deliver during this multi-threaded programming is multi-threading in Java, advantages of Java multi-threading, what is thread in Java, difference between thread and process, Java thread class, life cycle of thread states, how to create thread in Java, methods of thread class, creating multiple threads in Java. Before understanding multi-threading, we must know what is multitasking. So that multitasking is kind of in operating system. We are using browser process, we are using Excel, we are using VLC, and at a time we are using, this is nothing but a multitasking. In a processor, they are executed as separate processes through the operating system. So that multitasking is a process of executing multiple tasks simultaneously. We use multitasking to utilize CPU. Multitasking can be achieved in two ways. First is process-based multitasking, that is multiprocessing, and second is thread-based multitasking, that is a multi-threading. Process-based multitasking is a multiprocessing and thread-based is a multi-threading. So that in a multiprocessing or multitasking, each process has an address in memory. In other words, each process allocates separate memory area. Process is a heavyweight. Cost of communication between process is high. Switching from process to another requires some time for saving load register, memory maps, updating list, etc. So that thread-based multitasking, that is a multi-threading. Threads share the same address space, whereas process don't. Process use a separate memory space. Thread is lightweight, whereas processes are heavyweight. And cost of communication between thread is low, and whereas cost between processes is a high. So that multi-threading in Java is a process of executing multiple threads simultaneously. Thread is a lightweight subprocess, the smallest unit of processing. Multiprocessing and multi-threading both are used to achieve multitasking. Java multi-threading is mostly used in games, animations, etc. So that multi-threading is like word processor is there, which is running on a CPU, and that word processor uses graphics as one thread. Responding to keystroke is another thread. Checking a grammar is another thread, like that. Advantages of Java multi-threading. It does not block the user because threadings are independent and you can perform multiple operations at same time. Multi-threading saves time as you can perform multiple operations together, and threads are independent. If an execution occurs in a single thread, it does not affect other. So that what is thread and what is thread in Java? A thread is a lightweight subprocess, smallest unit of processing. It is separate path of execution, and threads are independent. If there occurs exception in one thread, it does not affect other threads. It uses shared memory area. So that operating system can have multiple processes like process 1, process 2, process 3, and process 1 can be dealing with thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, and these threads have intercommunication between multiple threads. Process 2 can have one thread 2, or process 3 can have single thread also. So that difference between thread and process. Thread, it is subset of subunit of process. Thread is part of process, but process It is a program in execution containing multiple threads. Out of multiple threads, one is a thread. In this inner thread, communication is faster, less expensive, easy, efficient because threads share the same memory address of process they belongs to. In this, inter-process communication is slower, expensive, and complex because each process has different memory space or address. These are easier to create, lightweight, and have less overhead. These are difficult to create, heavyweight, and have more overhead. It requires less time for creation, termination, and context switching. It requires more time for creation, termination, and context switching. Processes with multiple threads are use fewer resources. Processes with threads use more resources. Threads are part of process, so they are dependent on each other, but each thread executes independently. Processes are independent of each other. There is need of synchronization in threads to avoid unexpected scenario or problems. There is no needs of synchronization in each process. They share data and information with each other. They do not share data with each other. Advantages of Java multithreading. It does not block the user because threads are independent and you can perform multiple operations at the same time. Multithreading saves time as you can perform multiple operations together. Threads are independent. If an exception occurs in a single thread, it does not affect other threads. Java provides thread class to achieve multi-threading or thread programming. Thread class provides constructor and methods to create and perform operations on thread. Thread class extends object class and implements runnable interface. Commonly used constructor of thread class are like thread without parameter, thread with string name, thread with runnable R interface, thread with runnable R interface, and also with a string name. This is life cycle of thread. And there are 4 states of thread. First is new thread or new state, then runnable, then running, block, and dead. These are 5 states of thread. Out of that, new thread is very initial. On new thread, start method will get called, and on calling the start method, it will be in runnable state. Runnable means it is about to run, but on runnable state, once you call the run method, so that it will be in a running state. Running state will be yield back to the runnable. Running step can be suspended or wait, also sleep, and it can be a block. After suspending, waiting, or on sleep, it can be a block, and after block it can be ideal, so that it is not runnable. Once it is not runnable, block state can stop and will go into the dead or killed thread. Once it is notified resume, block state will return back to the runnable state. So that from new state, if you call stop method, it will be dead. On runnable also, you can call stop, then it will be dead, and at the end block state can also stop and will go to the dead state. Newborn state, when we create a thread object using thread class, thread is a born and it is known to be in born state. That is, when thread is born, it enters into new state, but the start method has not been called yet on instance. Thread object exists, but it cannot execute any statement because it is not an execution of thread. Only start method can call on new thread, otherwise an illegal thread state exception will be thrown. So that newborn thread, once on calling start method, will be in runnable state. On calling stop method will be in dead state. Otherwise, and here thread created are born and enter into the new state. This is diagram for scheduling newborn thread. In a runnable state means thread is ready for execution. When start method is called on a new thread, thread enters into runnable state. But during a runnable state, this thread or this process will acquire the required resources for the execution of thread, and this is the importance of runnable state. So that initially newborn thread will be started, and once it is started, runnable thread in queue waiting for execution, and once run method will get call running, the thread will runnable and running states. Figure is for runnable and running state. Running state is actually running means processor has allocated time slot to thread for its execution. When thread cellular selects threads from runnable state for execution, it goes into the running state. So that running thread running on runnable state, if you call run method, so that it will be in running thread state, and if you call if you suspend, or if you call on runnable, if you call sleep method, it will be suspended, and after particular time of sleep it will be runnable again, and runnable to you need to start it for you need to run it for a running state. Runnable state can be a running thread. On suspend, it will be a suspended, and suspended can be a resume for the runnable, relinquishing control using suspend method. This control using sleep method means after sleep you can have your suspended thread will be runnable after fixed time, but on suspend you can have you need to call resume for the suspended to runnable. In a block state, a thread is considered to be the block state when it is suspended, sleeping, or waiting for some time in order to satisfy some condition. Dead state, thread dies or moves into dead state automatically when it runs method completes the execution of start statement, that is, thread is terminated, or dead when thread comes out of run method. Thread can be dead when stop method is called. These are commonly used methods of thread class, and these are public void run. This run method is used for perform action for thread, means from runnable to running state. This run method will be useful. Start the execution of thread. JVM call the run method on the thread. On newborn state to start makes the thread state to the runnable. Sleeping in millisecond causes the currently executing thread to sleep for the specified number of milliseconds. Join waits for the thread to die, then waits for a thread to die for the specified milliseconds. Returns the priority of thread. Get priority will return the priority of thread. Join method will wait for thread to die for the specified millisecond. Here join wait for thread to die. Set priority changes the priority of thread. Set name returns the name of the get name returns the name of the thread. Set name string name changes the name of the thread to the name. Thread current thread returns the reference of a currently executing thread. Integer get id returns the id of the thread. Public thread dot state get state returns the state of the thread. Public boolean is alive tests if the thread is alive, and public while yield causes the currently executing thread object to temporarily pause and allow other thread to execute. Public while suspend is used to suspend a thread deprecated. Resume is used to resume the suspended thread and it is deprecated. Is used to stop the thread deprecated. Is daemon test if the thread is a daemon thread. Daemon marks the thread as a daemon or user thread. Interpret the thread by interpret method. Test if the thread can be interrupted using boolean is interrupted, and static boolean interrupted. Test if the current thread has been interrupted. There are two ways to create a thread. First is by executing thread class, and second is by implementing runnable interface. Extending thread. The first way to create a thread is to create a new class that extend threads and then to create an instance of that class. This approach provides more flexibility in handling multiple threads created using available methods in thread class. The executing class must override the run method, and which is a entry point for the new thread. It must also start to begin execution of new thread, like step 1 override run method and step 2 call thread using start method. Then runnable interface. There are two ways to create a thread. One is extending thread class and another is implementing a runnable interface. So what is this interface? Thus, the runnable interface should be implemented by any class whose instances are intended to be executed by thread. Runnable interface have only one method named run. So that runnable interface have only one method named run, and public file run is used to perform action for the thread. So that once you implement runnable, you need to compulsorily implement the method run, because it is only method available in runnable interface which is declared there. Starting a thread. To start a thread, the method start method of a thread class is used to start newly created thread. It performs the following tasks. New thread starts with a new call stacks. The thread moves from new state to the runnable state. When the thread get a chance to execute, its target run method will run. Steps to first is implement run method, then instantiate thread method, and then call thread using start. Means using runnable interfaces, these are three major steps. First is implement run, instantiate thread class, and on that thread class call the start method. On calling thread start method, run method which is implemented will be called automatically. So that thread example by extending thread class, that is class multithreading extends threads and override this thread class run method public void run system out println. This is thread is running. So that public static void main create object, and on that object call t1.start. On calling start, your run method will get automatically called. So that let us check this example on eclipse. How many classes are created during our series? Number of sessions. Let me delete. So that create new class as a multi-threading. Public class multi-threading extends thread. From that thread, public void run method we need to implement or edit because it is already there in a thread. Overloading of a thread method is not possible because it has a fixed structure. Only overriding is possible because it is already available in the thread class. So that simple system dot out. So that this run implementing run method in the both the approach by extending thread class and implementing a runnable interface. In both the cases, implementation of a public void method is a compulsory, so that create a object of this class. See, multi-threading empty equal to new multi-threading, and just empty dot call start method. It is void, so that just call it. On calling start method, this run method will get automatically called. Let us see the output. See, in a program explicitly nowhere run method is called. It is called automatically on calling the start method of the thread. So that both this start method and run method is from the thread class. Another example by implementing runnable interface. Implementing the runnable interface. In this case, we need to implement runnable interface and implement the public void run method here again. In this case, again in main method we need to create object of this current class. For example, this is yum, and while creating thread we need to pass this object to the thread using constructor, and which is a runnable r. Because this class is a runnable class, we have implemented runnable interface with this class, and then we can have t1 dot start. Simple. Let us go to the eclipse. Have all this class multi-threading 2 class we will have. And this time approach is to implements runnable implement runnable interface. Change to runnable. So that on implementing runnable, see, your editor is showing error as implement the abstract method from runnable. That method is a public void run method. That's it. This is requirement. Inside you may have system.out.println multithreading using runnable empty using runnable service. So that now in this case we have to create object of runnable class. Runnable class is empty2 is empty equal to new empty2. This is instance of runnable class, and this we have to provide to the thread class. Thread t equal to new thread with empty. Okay, now t is a thread with t dot start if you say, so that it will run the run method. It will start a execution of run method. See, empty using runnable. See, this is fantastic. And let us move to next example. Next example is using thread class with a thread name, string name as a thread name, so that we can directly use the thread class to plan new thread using constructor defined above. So that in main method directly we can have thread t with a thread name, and that thread will get start, and once start we can retrieve the name of t dot get name and print it. Okay, so that we can create example thread example 3. Just wait. Okay, so that getting the name, setting the and getting the name, simply we can have, while creating thread we may pass name here, threading thread as id1, and once started okay, sorry, we can have separate class for third example empty3. We can have thread t equal to new thread with name, say id1 thread, and that t dot start and system dot out dot print so that t dot name get name. Okay, this thread name is id1, so that of course question may raise like run method is not written, so that it is already there in a thread class. Simply we are writing if we are extending the thread, otherwise no need. Then with a runnable interface we can have runnable as well as setting the name, so that thread implement runnable, from runnable implement run method. Now thread is running, like that message you pass, and public static void main with main and main runnable r1 equal to new thread to object of 2, and then thread th1 equal to new thread, and runnable interface or runnable class you can mention along with the name, and then you can have t1 or start and get name and print it, so that even for runnable, using runnable interface we have run method, and from that class to runnable we can have runnable r1, and r1 we will pass while creating thread. So that this is example 4. Example 4, you can reuse this as a implements. If it is implement runnable, implement public method, public void run, get it something like run method. Let us see MT3 is now runnable, so that create a runnable r1 equal to new, this MT3 is also runnable now, and pass this to the creating thread, so that thread will be created with a r1 as runnable and thread name is void. So that get it t dot start, then this will run, so that will display in run, and then we'll display the thread name. So in run void should be printed after this program. So that creating multiple threads in single class is also possible. For example, we have my thread extend threads string task. Then my thread will be with a thread string task, and this dot task equal to task, and public void run for integer I equal to something, and some task will be done, and some sleep will be given to particular thread to observe the effect of the multi-threading. So that public static void main, in the main class we have thread 1 thread 2. Name of first thread is got the ticket. Name of thread 2 will be the show your seat number, and that T1 and T2 will get started. So that let us see how this example works in Eclipse. So that we will create run method. So that run method will count something 1 to 5, and this will count 1 to 5 like task 1 task 2 task 5, and between every task we'll sleep for this 1000 second means 1 second, sorry, 1000 millisecond means 1 second. So that interrupted exception I will be the, and system out println dot I dot get message, and these two thread instances of these two classes will be created, and on that classes two thread will get created and started. Let us have this example in Eclipse. This is my thread. This is by extend thread class with this and thread will be with the string task, task, and this dot task equal to task. This will be constructor, and then run method public void run method with something for loop we will created I equal to 1 to I less than or equal to 5, then I plus plus. Integer I, then here we will print system dot out dot ln, that is task 1 means task I will get printed, and and here we will have sleep for sleep in this loop to observe other thread is called or not, so that in try catch in a try thread dot sleep with a millisecond of 1000 means 1 second exception thread exception he will be interrupted exception. Okay, then no need to do anything. Our main thing is to add sleep here. Okay, now we will create so that this task something task will get assigned, so that my thread t1 t1 equal to new abc task will assign. Then for control v t2 with xyz task will be assigned. Accordingly we will create thread t1 equal to new thread, that is t1 thread t2 equal to new thread, that is mt2, and then we will have t1 dot start, then t2 dot start. Let us see how this works. See, for every second t1 t2 t3 t4 t5, task 1 task 2 task 3. To differentiate it, we will add something. This we will print e dot get message, this also, so that in between this will get shown on thread interruption. Okay, so that then instead of we have assigned tasks xyz and abc, separate threads are there, so that make with difference like not a task, so that this is a instance variable task, and space this. ABC by 1, XYZ by 1, ABC by 2, XYZ by 2, like that. This, this. 1 is counted by ABC, 1 is counted by XYZ, 2 is by ABC, 2 is by XYZ. But next time, this both of the time, ABC thread is started first. But onwards, if you see here, XYZ state thread is started first. Then here also XYZ started first, and then XYZ started first. Means 2 time ABC thread was started first, and then so that this was a very interesting example for the showing multi-threading, use of multi-threading. You can see this runnable method, single method is there, but it is accessed by the both the threads for the counting purpose or showing task purpose. So that next is creating multiple threads, example 2. So that runnable thread, name thread, new thread, and then some task, and then start. Hide run in runnable, count something, give the slip, if interrupted, show it interrupted, and then class multi-threading demo public, and then start with new 1, 2, 3. So that start with new thread 1, new thread 2, new thread 3, and then again give the slip, try thread slip, and interrupted system or println, and so many things. So that in this way output will be the new thread 1 5 main 1 5 new thread column thread thread name plus t means with name. So that in a creating thread example 3, so that we can have one more thread we can create using runnable and write a while run for integer I equal to 0 to 5, system out println first child thread, first child exited, then second thread implement runnable public file run, then second child thread runnable means, and then public class public static file main means separate threads we can create with a when to implement runnable, and we can add we can take demo of it and add these two threads, start it, start add second thread, start it, and then see in the loop we call it and see the output. So that first child thread 0, first child thread 1, 2, 3, 4, in this way will be executed, then first child thread exited, main thread, second thread, then in this way, and all the threads will get exited. Implementation of thread states. So that in a Java class, in Java, one can get current state of threads using the thread.getState. The Java lang thread state class of the Java provides the constants enum to represent the state of the threads. These constants are public static final thread state new and public static final thread dot state runnable block waiting time waiting. So that program for demonstrating thread state. For example, get a class thread class, implement runnable, and then public file run thread dot state thread dot state equal to thread dot current dot get state, and print it using running thread name thread dot current state dot get name and system out println, so that print state of thread, that is state. So that public static void main using main method, you go to the some java get state exception expression g equal to new java get expression thread t1 equal to new thread, thread t2 equal to new thread with passing g and t dot start and t dot start. You will get that there is thread state running as like either runnable thread 0 thread 1. During this session we have completed topic like advantages of Java multithreading, then what is a thread in Java, difference between thread and process, Java thread class, its life cycle, how to create threads in Java, methods of Java class, then creating multiple threads in Java. In next session we will see thread scheduler in Java, thread priorities, its synchronization and its inter-thread communication. Let us have this example, run this example like if we have thread states, for the thread states you will have this example at the end, so that have one class thread class and implement runnable and add this runnable method and main method in it. Okay, let us have one more thread class mentioning thread state, public static void main, so that using runnable implements runnable. If you say implements runnable public void run in this way, and we can have something, so that what to add in a runnable, so that create a thread dot state equal to state, this state equal to, then this state equal to thread dot current state dot get state, so that in a runnable thread dot state, which is a state equal to thread dot current thread dot state, current thread dot its get state. Then print this thread dot current state get name. We will print system dot out dot println with thread dot current state dot get name. Then we will have system out println state of thread is a state. Then we will have system dot out dot println, that is the state which is received in first line, and we will have state of thread is. So that in this way our run method is complete. Now create, let us have a little bit, we have to use Java get state expression class, and so that create object of this, but in our case this is different. For our case our program name is thread state, and we will have this thread state st1 equal to new thread state st1. We will create this such another, no need to add another st1, and then thread t1 equal to new thread st1, then similar t2, and start these both, that t1 dot start and t2 dot start, so that in this way we will get it is just like running thread 0, state of thread is runnable, thread 1 runnable, because after this let us run. See, thread 1, thread 2, state of thread runnable, state of thread runnable. Okay, in this way our this session on threading is completed. Thank you.